Hello, I'm Dr. Sophie Miller, and today I'm going to share with you information that may be going unnoticed, but that has an enormous impact on your brain health, especially if you're already over 60 years old. Did you know that some nuts and dried fruits that everyone recommends as healthy snacks can actually be accelerating the decline of your memory? Meanwhile, others can be true protectors of your brain. The difference lies in the details that nobody tells you, and that's exactly what I'm going to reveal right now. If you're over 60 and have noticed that you've been forgetting names more frequently, losing the thread of conversation in the middle of a story, or feeling that irritating mental fog in the middle of the afternoon, pay close attention to what I'm going to tell you. What you eat between meals could be stealing your mental clarity without you realizing it. And nuts and dried fruits, those same ones that everyone praises and recommends, can be disguised villains or true allies of your brain. It all depends on which ones you choose and how you consume them. I'm going to show you exactly which nuts and dried fruits you should avoid, why some harm your memories, and most importantly, how to make smart substitutions that can transform your brain health in just a few weeks. Are you ready to discover if you're feeding your brain or harming it without knowing? To understand why this choice is so important, first I need to explain to you what happens in your brain after 60 years old. With the passage of time, our brain begins to produce less of a fundamental substance called acetylcholine, which is the neurotransmitter responsible for memory, learning, and attention. It's as if the brain started working with less fuel. At the same time, silent inflammatory processes increase inside our body, and the capacity that our brain has to remove cellular toxins naturally decreases. Imagine a house where garbage keeps accumulating and nobody can completely take it out. That's more or less what happens. That's exactly where the big problem with some nuts comes in. Many of them, especially those industrially processed, contain oxidized oils, excess salt, added sugar, and even pro-inflammatory substances that accelerate this brain decline. These ingredients cause spikes of inflammation in nerve cells, harm communication between neurons, and can even increase the risk of dementias like Alzheimer's. You consume them thinking you're doing good for your health, but you're actually throwing gasoline on a fire that's already burning. On the other hand, and here's the good news, there are nuts and dried fruits that do exactly the opposite. They protect neuronal membranes, combat inflammation, and provide essential fats that the brain needs to function well. The difference between choosing one type or another can be the line between maintaining your mental independence and lucidity for many years, or gradually losing your cognitive capacity. Have you stopped to think about that? Let me tell you a real story that perfectly illustrates what I'm talking about. 2 years ago, I met a patient named Mrs. Helen, who was 68 years old at the time. She came to me very worried and told me something that immediately caught my attention. "Doctor, I'm forgetting everything. The other day I left the gas stove on. Could it be Alzheimer's?" Her concern was legitimate and fear was written all over her face. We talked at length about her routine. Mrs. Helen ate well at lunch, always balanced meals, but in the afternoon snack, she had a fixed habit. She ate a handful of roasted and salted cashews, those that come in a package at the supermarket. When I asked her why she chose that, she answered me with full conviction. "It's healthy, isn't it, doctor? Everyone speaks well of cashews." I read in several places that nuts are good for the brain. I asked her to bring the package of cashews to the next appointment, and when I saw the label, I understood everything. That product contained palm oil, refined salt in excess, and various chemical preservatives. That wasn't real food, it was inflammation packaged in an attractive way. I explained to Mrs. Helen that her brain was asking for good, healthy fat, but was receiving oxidized fat and too much sodium, which deregulated her blood pressure and inflamed the cerebral vessels, harming the flow of blood and nutrients to the brain. We made a simple but powerful change. We replaced those processed cashews with raw cashews without salt, which she activated by soaking them in water. In just 3 weeks, Mrs. Helen came back to the office and told me something that moved me. "Doctor, I'm back to remembering where I put things. I no longer have those blanks in the middle of conversations. And look, my blood pressure also went down." That's the difference that a conscious food choice can make in your life. So let's get straight to the point. Which nuts and dried fruits should you avoid after 60 years old? The first group that needs to leave your pantry are roasted nuts with salt and refined oil. You know those packaged nuts, crunchy, salty, and irresistible? Well, they're made with refined vegetable oils like soybean oil or palm oil, which oxidize during the industrial heating process. These oxidized oils generate free radicals that directly attack brain cells, causing cumulative damage. Besides, the excess sodium present in these nuts worsens blood pressure and reduces blood flow in the brain, exactly the opposite of what you need to keep your memory sharp. You consume them thinking it's just an innocent snack, but you're harming your brain little by little every day. The second villain is processed peanuts with sugar. Those candied peanuts covered with honey or caramelized seem harmless and even tasty, don't they? But they contain glucose syrup and refined sugar in large quantity, which cause insulin spikes in your body. These constant spikes favor brain insulin resistance, which is one of the main risk factors for the development of Alzheimer's. Recent studies show that when the brain develops insulin resistance, it loses the ability to use glucose as energy efficiently, and this directly harms memory and reasoning. You're literally feeding the risk of dementia with every sugary peanut you eat. The third type you should avoid are mixed nuts that come combined with crystallized fruits. These mixes seem like a practical and healthy option, but industrialized dehydrated fruits come loaded with added sugar and preservatives like sulfites. In excess, these substances cause chronic inflammation throughout the body, including the brain, and harm the mitochondrial function of neurons. Mitochondria are the energy powerhouses of brain cells, and when they don't work well, you feel that mental fatigue, difficulty concentrating, and weak memory. Do you happen to have one of these packages in your house right now? Finally, the fourth group that deserves your attention are rancid nuts and almonds, that is, poorly stored ones. Nuts that are stored for a long time, exposed to heat or humidity, undergo a process called lipid oxidation. The good fats they have transform into bad oxidized fats. When you consume rancid fats, you're literally feeding brain inflammation. The warning sign is simple. If the nut has a bitter smell or a strange, weird taste, throw it away immediately. It's not worth risking your brain's health for economy. But now comes the good part, the part that's going to change your life. There are nuts and dried fruits that are true protectors of your brain, and I'm going to show you which ones they are and how to consume them the right way. The first and most powerful are raw walnuts without salt. Walnuts are absolute champions in plant-based omega-3, specifically alpha-linolenic acid, which combats inflammation and significantly improves communication between neurons. Robust scientific studies show that consuming just 30 grams of walnuts per day, the equivalent of a small handful, can reduce the risk of cognitive decline by up to 20%. 20%! Can you imagine the impact of that on your quality of life? Walnuts also provide powerful antioxidants that protect brain cells against oxidative stress, which is one of the major responsible factors for brain aging. The second protective nut is the Brazil nut, but here's a very important detail. Only 2 units per day maximum. The Brazil nut is extremely rich in selenium, a powerful antioxidant mineral that protects the brain against oxidative stress and improves thyroid function, which also influences cognition. But attention, 2 Brazil nuts already provide all the selenium you need in a day. Consuming in excess can be toxic and bring the opposite effect, so no exaggerating, okay? The third brain protector are raw or activated almonds. Almonds are an exceptional source of vitamin E, an antioxidant that protects the membranes of neurons against damage caused by free radicals. They also contain magnesium, which is essential for brain energy production and mood regulation. Have you noticed how you feel calmer and more focused when you consume foods rich in magnesium? Well, that's exactly what almonds do for your brain. The fourth and last protector I want to present is natural pistachio without salt. Pistachio contains lutein and zeaxanthin, which are antioxidants known to protect not only the eyes but also the brain. In addition, pistachio is rich in fiber, which regulates blood glucose and avoids those harmful insulin spikes I mentioned before. A brain with stable glucose functions much better. You feel more alert, more present, but it's not enough just to know which nuts to choose. You need to know how to make this substitution in practice, in your daily life. It's simpler than it seems. If you usually buy roasted and salted nuts, switch to raw nuts, or if you prefer a more intense flavor, lightly roast at home, without oil, just in a low oven. If you consume candied peanuts, substitute them with raw peanuts or with 100% natural peanut butter, the one that has only peanuts in the composition, without sugar, without palm oil, without anything else. If you like those mixes with crystallized fruits, make your own mix at home with walnuts, almonds, and a pinch of cinnamon, which besides giving flavor, still has anti-inflammatory properties. And here's a golden tip that few people know. Store your nuts in well-sealed glass jars in the refrigerator to avoid oxidation. And there's more. You can activate your nuts by soaking them in water for 8 hours and then drying them in the oven at low temperature. This process removes phytates, substances that make it difficult to absorb nutrients, improves digestion, and significantly increases the bioavailability of minerals and vitamins. It's a simple care that potentiates all the benefits. You must be wondering, Doctor, does this really work? Will I feel a difference? And I answer you with complete certainty. Yes, the transformation is real and fast. When you replace processed nuts with natural, quality versions, your brain responds quickly. In 2 to 3 weeks, many of my patients report impressive improvements. They feel better mental clarity in the morning, wake up more alert and willing. They have fewer episodes of those embarrassing blanks in the middle of a conversation. They feel more mental disposition throughout the day and less brain fatigue. And many also notice that sleep becomes deeper and more restorative. Can you imagine waking up with a rested, clear mind, ready for the day? This happens because you stop inflaming the brain with harmful substances and begin to nourish it properly with essential fats, powerful antioxidants, and minerals that it had been asking for a long time but wasn't receiving. It's like changing adulterated fuel for pure quality fuel. The engine works better, performs more, lasts longer. So, my final message for you is this. Your brain deserves this conscious choice. Based on recent studies in nutritional neuroscience, choosing the right nuts after 60 years old is not an unimportant detail. It's a fundamental strategy for brain longevity. While some nuts accelerate mental aging and cognitive decline, Others can protect your memory, your autonomy, your independence, and your quality of life for many, many more years. The difference between a processed cashew and a raw cashew may seem small, almost insignificant at first glance, but for your brain, it can be the difference between easily remembering your grandchildren's names or forgetting where you put your keys for the third time in the same day. It can be the difference between actively participating in interesting conversations or being lost trying to follow the reasoning. It can be the difference between maintaining your independence and needing help with simple daily tasks. Taking care of your mind after 60 years old is not about aging slowly. It's not about passively accepting decline. It's about aging lucid, conscious, present, with quality of life. It's about making smart choices every day that will add up over time and make all the difference in your brain health. And that choice starts now with what you put on your plate, with the snack you choose to eat between meals. So I want to make you an invitation. Try making these changes in the coming weeks. Observe how you feel. Pay attention to your mental clarity, your memory, your disposition. I'm certain that you'll be positively surprised with the results. And if you like this information, if this content was useful to you, leave your comment down below telling which change you're going to make first. Share this video with someone you love who also needs to know this important information. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to receive more content about health, wellness, and evidence-based natural medicine. Remember, your brain health is in your hands and small changes can generate extraordinary results. You deserve to age with lucidity, sharp memory, and quality of life. Until the next video, and take good care of your brain.